So example 4 asks, what is the diagonal of a rectangle with sides 10 and 16 square root of 5? So if we take a look at this, a rectangle has 4 90-degree angles. So all of these are 90-degree angles. And the diagonal is going to make 2 triangles, okay? With one of the legs being 16 square root of 5 and the other leg being 10, so that the diagonal would form the hypotenuse of that right triangle. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Pythagorean Theorem to find the hypotenuse of that triangle. So I have a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Again, every time we use a formula, we write it down to help us remember that formula. So one leg is going to be 10, so that's 10 squared, plus the other leg is 16 square root of 5, and I square all of that is equal to c squared. And I'm going to just put this in as d for my diagonal, is d squared. So 10 squared is 100, plus, now this one we have to take the 16 and square it. So 16 squared is 256. And then I have to say the square root of 5 times the square root of 5, which is equal to the square root of 25. And the square root of 25 is equal to 5. So the square root of 25 is 5. So I'm going to have to take this because here this is 16 times the square root of 5. And so I'm going to have to multiply this by 5 in here, which is what the square root of 5 squared is. And that is equal to d squared. So I'm going to say 256 times 5. So I got 100 plus 256 times 5 is 1280 is equal to d squared. So I'm going to have 1380 is equal to d squared. So now I have to take the square root of both sides. So I take the square root of d and the square root of 1380, and I get the square root of 1380 is equal to d, or I could flip that around because that's how we typically see it. But then my question is there any perfect squares in the number 1380? So again, my perfect squares are 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, what am I up to? 7, 8 is 64, 72, 100, 121, 144. You know, you can start looking them out there. And then I don't know, maybe some other math teacher knows an easier way to do this, to go, okay, what perfect squares go into here. But basically what I do is I just kind of go through there and look. And if I say 1380 divided by 4, I get 345. So the square root of 4, so I can say the square root of 4 times 345 will give me d is equal to 2, square root of 345. And the question is there any other perfect squares in 345? And you would go through that whole process again. And when you did that, you would find out that, well, no, there are no other perfect squares in 345.